ladies and gentlemen, it's the same story every year. It's not only your hard-earned money, even your life that is at stake. The civic apathy in Chennai and Bengaluru is in your face. Look at those visuals. On the left is Chennai. On the right, what you're seeing is not the surface of the moon. These are not craters. These are just potholes on the road which you use. And of course, if you die, somebody will say, we are very, very sorry that this happened. And they will move on to their next political challenge. In Chennai, a car fell into a pit. Luckily, the doctor who was driving the SUV escaped unhurt. 385 kilometers away, the story was no different. Bengaluru is still facing pothole terror. And we've taken up this issue time and time again. It's been a Times Now campaign. Despite the High Court order, the killer potholes are yet to be fixed. The craters of death are waiting to swallow innocent lives. Listen in to this voice that exposes the state of failure.
The car has just fell down. It was owned by a doctor, I believe. So we were just standing there and immediately the car got stuck down. I mean, there was a heavy rush immediately after the incident. It happened around maybe 5 to 5:30. No, actually, there was no this barricade. There was no this safety barricades. If it would have been there, he would have fallen down. Obviously, there was no people around that person. When he fell down, there was no officials who were working on this. So it must be a fault of the system. Now, at least there should be that yellow strap or red strap, danger or you should not come something. There is no poster. Only this gate is there.
Well, see it for yourself. If that's the story in Chennai, then ladies and gentlemen, how the exchequer money is going down the drain is also a part of this entire demonstration. And I want to show you this picture. This is not the moon, and don't confuse it with the craters. These are potholes. And we actually sat and counted these 200 meters, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 28 potholes in this much of a stretch. This stretch. 28, and that's how we pointed them out in this picture. 28 potholes in 200 meters. And ladies and gentlemen, many, many deaths. 13 deaths in 5 years. And you know how much money they've spent? They spent 415 crores for roads in Bengaluru. Yet, they continue to be death traps. But every time we see civic apathy, corruption is highlighted and questions are raised over zero accountability, the passing of the buck begins. Sample this. Vandita Sharma, Chief Secretary of Karnataka, doesn't even bother to give a reply when confronted about these killer potholes.
Ma'am, one just reaction, ma'am, one small reaction about the state of affairs in Bangalore. A lot of potholes, ma'am. Please. Excuse me, ma'am. One just reaction, ma'am, one small reaction about the state of affairs in Bangalore. A lot of potholes, ma'am. Please. Excuse me, ma'am.
Well, blame it on somebody else. Potholes are for you. Why should anybody bother to give you a reply? You are, after all, only required once in 5 years. The BBMP chief engineer is spinning the blame on the other department. And that's how the passing of the buck continues. Listen in.
That road, which is what has been transmitted today, is under the BMRCL. We have been coordinating with the BMRCL regularly.
And the 2002 potholes, what date you're giving?
So already, as I told you, I gave you the figure on 4/6/2000. This one, as of today, it may be less than that also.
So what is the deadline? When are you planning to pay it?
In pothole, this one, we cannot give a definite deadlines because there are.
I could give you deadline.
Yeah, we have already submitted our progress made.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, the legitimate question we are asking on the Newshour tonight, is it time to make the Netas pay for this dereliction of duty? That's the question, and I'm going to take your calls on the show tonight. So please call in and ask your questions to the public representatives. Ganesh Karnik, spokesperson of the Karnataka BJP, joining me on the debate. Tehseen Poonawala, political analyst, and also joining me this evening is Kasthuri Shankar, actor, who's joining the show tonight. I want to ask you, Kasthuri Shankar, nobody wants to answer you this question. Also with us tonight is Inderjit Lankesh, film director. I want to ask you, Kasthuri Shankar, nobody wants to give you an answer for the civic apathy. Everybody says, not me, that department, and some, of course, don't even want to respond to a question. Because after all, we, the people of India, and citizens of any state or city are required once in 5 years to cast their vote. After that, why should anybody answer your questions? And that's what we've seen at play. What should we now do to make accountability stick, and how do we make them pay?
Very well put, Navika ji. You know, you said they need us only once in 5 years to cast our vote. I think they also need us, at least one portion of us that is responsible about these things. They need us to pay our taxes. Direct taxes, some of us have to pay. Indirect taxes, everybody has to pay. And then there is absolutely no accountability, because politicians are very busy name-calling each other, trying to play caste divisions and language division and every kind of divisive politics there is, about clothes, about attire, about language. So where is the time for constructive politics? Where is the time for development? There is only time for self-development. Where is the time for public development? Obviously, na? So how to make them accountable? I think number one, it must be made a compulsory rule that if you're an elected member of the assembly or the parliament, if you're the people's representative, you have to stay and work in your constituency for a mandatory number of days. I suppose it is unreasonable to say.
Calling in Mr. Rajendran, calling in from Bengaluru. Raghavendran, also from Bengaluru. Mr. Rajendran, good evening. What's your question? And would you want to address it to Mr. Ganesh Karnik of BJP Karnataka?
Yeah. Good evening, ma'am. This is Rajendran from Bengaluru.
Good evening, sir.
It is very regrettable that for even issues like a pothole, the High Court has to intervene. It is I don't know, it's a coincidence, whatever the roads built by the central, whether it is any party, I am not talking about any party. When they are building highways, or expressways, there is no problem. But when it comes to the civic problems, nobody takes the responsibility, and every time the court has to give an instruction. We are
very sad commentary on administration and governance. Well said. Mr. Raghavendran, good evening. Your question?
I've been a victim of this pothole. And what is happening in Bangalore is no civic authorities are taking responsibility. They don't stick with the different, like Airtel or let it be any other companies, and plan to do the road digging. Recently, in front of my flat, road was poured just 15 days back. Now it has been dug like anything. I can't even go. One car passes, I have to wait for 15 minutes.
Well said. Well said. So let's get Mr. Ganesh Karnik. How does it happen that in every state, in every city, this is the problem? Different agencies come and dig, and then you make roads if you do, and then somebody comes and digs it again. Because the more you dig and the more roads you make, the more are the cuts that go to people in the administration. Is that how it works, Mr. Karnik? And also shameful that courts have to intervene to get roads made in cities, high courts.
Navika, good evening, and thanks for inviting me on this panel. Firstly, I would like to acknowledge that there is a major problem. There's a serious problem. And this serious problem is not of last 2 years, last 5 years, last 10 years. And while acknowledging that, I also would like to say our approach towards providing civic amenities has been very unprofessional. If you give me a minute, see, Bangalore had a population of around 17 lakhs in 1970.
Sir, I completely agree with what you are saying.
Yes.
The BJP is in power. People have chosen you, or you have formed government through whatever means to solve these problems. You don't have to explain the way to do it to me or to our viewers. You have to do it, sir.
Well,
what's stopping you?
Since you did not allow me to speak what I wanted to speak, and I'll try to answer the specific question that you want to hear from me. Number one, last 1 year has been very, very bad. And previous to that, we had major problem with laborers because of the COVID instance. During the last 1 year, intermittent rains during all seasons has disturbed the maintenance work, number one. Number two, the smart city project is happening all over the city, and all those tender shore white topping roads which have been done, they are being maintained properly. The interior roads and roads where there work going on, metro work is going on, in those places, because of the construction activity going on, yes, there have been problems. I'm not trying to absolve my government or my administration from the responsibility of providing good roads. But there are reasons for this.
Oh, reasons. So smart cities will be made while interior roads will become more unsmart than before. Inderjit Lankesh, a very convincing argument. बारिश हो जाती है, वर्कर नहीं मिलता है, स्मार्ट सिटी, मेट्रो, therefore please live in potholed roads.
Ms. Navika, a very good question from you actually. What's stopping you? I'll tell what's stopping them. The BJP government. Waste mafia, tender corruption, misuse of grants, 40% commission, not from me. This is a complaint from the contractors. Akrama sakrama loot, tax cheating, duplicate certificate mafias. Raja Kaluwe is the main gutter. In fact, they've trespassed it. Celebrities, politicians, and businessmen have trespassed and built malls. In fact, on the Raj Kaluwe. And of course, it goes on. It's not just potholes, it's swimming pools. In fact, a very educated viewer, in fact, asked you a question, why should the High Court intervene? High Court is not intervening. They are condemning, they're warning, they have threatened. They're not just threatened, they've given an ultimatum to the commissioner who's appointed by Mr. Bommai. They have threatened him and they have given an ultimatum, otherwise they'll put him behind bars. And what has happened to not just 415 crores, it's 7,000 crores of the budget. What has happened to it? In fact, I've sent my visuals, an office which is an MG Road. Mr. Ganesh Karnik was saying there's tender shore, there is smart city. In fact, my office, which comes in MG Road, which is a smart city project, roads, my office has become a swimming pool. In fact, I've sent you some visuals. I'm not complaining, but I'm just bringing into the notice of people when a smart city project.
Oh my God. But it's not just Bengaluru. It's not just Bengaluru. Is Mr. O.P. Swaminathan from Chennai on the line? Mr. O.P. Swaminathan, good evening. It's not just Bengaluru. You're calling in from Chennai. Any better in Chennai than it is in Bengaluru?
Navika, I am calling from Bangalore.
Oh.
I am calling from Bangalore.
Okay.
I've got solutions. One is for all the damages, either to person by loss of life or damage to vehicles or damage to property because of potholes should be made good by the BBMP and not by the insurance company. Second point, privatize all these roads like the national highways and pay those private contractors, don't put toll, pay those private contractors, it should be paid by BBMP, 50 crores, 100 crores depending upon the length of the road. That is the only solution because all governments are corrupt. You cannot depend on them. Things will never improve.
Well said. Well said. All suggestions coming in from viewers. Mr. Karnik, do make a note. Viewers have suggestions in case you want some ideas on how to resolve the problems. But Tehseen Poonawala, I also want to ask you. It's not just Bengaluru. It's in Chennai as well. Mr. Chidambaram uses the DMK to get support to be elected to the Rajya Sabha. Would he want to also ask the DMK government in Tamil Nadu It has stopped making roads. It says bitumen is very, very expensive these days. So we will not repair roads as of now. We'll wait for the bitumen prices to come down. Tehseen Poonawala, would you want to recommend something to them?
Yeah, to the Chennai Municipal Corporation, they should try and make concrete roads because bitumen is expensive. But the more important part is corporations across the country. In Bangalore, it costs you 7 to 8 crores to get elected as a corporator. How do you recover this money? You are hand in glove with those who are building roads, with the contractors. Therefore, a road is built, then the corporation, then the telephone department will dig it up, then the pipe department will dig it up, then the fire department will dig it up.
It does not happen in Rajasthan, it does not happen in Chhattisgarh, it does not happen in Maharashtra. Let's not find only political point scoring here.
Bengaluru is the most expensive. Bengaluru and Chennai.
No, it's not about
Bengaluru is the most
Chennai.
expensive municipal corporation to become a corporator. It costs 7 to 8 crores.
Well, it may cost 7 to 8 crores for corporators to be elected in any part of the country. The fact of the matter is, don't test the patience of citizens of India. They elect governments, they elect municipal corporations to take care of their civic needs. And that's why they pay their taxes. That's why they vote governments and parties to power. If you don't give consumer satisfaction, political parties will have to face trouble with their clients, in this case, their consumers, which are the citizens of India. So no salesman should take the clients and their consumers completely for granted. And that's the warning citizens of India are giving to respective municipalities and political parties across the country. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining me on the News Hour at 9. Good night, take care, and I'll see you tomorrow. Same show, the News Hour at 9.